Perfect. I'm going to open up with a bit of a people announcement, which is exciting. So we've actually had a group CFO join the business. So Charlotte Petrus has joined probably about 3-4 weeks ago now. So for context, she's incredibly experienced in finance. She's been with big firms overseas in London like Deloitte. And she's originally from New Zealand, came to Australia and founded Timeleo. So Timeleo is a data finance partner. That's how we first met nearly 10 years ago, as Next has been having our data finance with Timeleo since then. About 2 years ago, that business was acquired by EarlyPay, which is our existing data and trade finance partner. So she finished up there for about 2 years. And recently we've engaged her to join as our group CFO. And with her experience, obviously, on the debt and the restructure side, it's incredibly valuable. So I think that's probably a major kind of people piece to share, which is super positive for the conversations that we're having with parties into the debt restructure. In terms of, we will be circulating, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, you guys will get the where we ended up in FY24. You can appreciate with the new CFO, she's taking a bit of extra time just to fully consolidate the group numbers. But as you would have been aware previously, in terms of the direction, what we're achieving, we've been on track from restructuring, I guess, the operational overheads and the costs in the business. So we've moved from FY23, we're at -5.6 to this year, -2.6. And I think what we're about to take you guys through as an update is some pretty exciting performance step changes in the company, which sees us on track to moving to positive EBITDA as a group for the first time in our history, given the investment that we've been making in building the international business in particular. So simply for the purpose of today, just wanted to really simplify what are we doing as milestones to achieve that significant change between FY24 and FY25. So moving us from circa 20 million or 19.6 million in net sales to 30 million in net sales as a group is a very solid, ambitious growth in this environment. But I think what is incredibly exciting for those in Australia and those that are in the room is the majority of that is coming from our core growth in our Nextpa brand. And I'll share what that looks like in our major partners with Coles and Woolworths. But the big change for us to step change margin has been a transition from glass to cans. And we've been collaborating with the retailers, both Woolies and Coles, on this change. And to give a bit of context of just admitting into the room, to give a bit of context of the reception of this change, which has occurred in Woolies over the last 6 weeks, is we've never experienced this in our 15 years of operating, where Woolworths has shared that there's a major review occurring in May next year, but because of the collaboration, what we've, I guess, designed for the better for you space within Woolworths, there's nothing in our portfolio that'd be up for a change. If anything, we'll only be having discussions about incrementality for May next year. So if we think about runway for the core of our revenue for the Australian business, that's kind of locking in the next 18 months as a base plan for the solid brand Nextpa, which sees us in significant growth in our major partner with Woolworths. The other key component of our milestones and strategy is about driving growth through both new channels. And then the next point there is really around the brand's expansion. So you would have seen online, and you'll be familiar with what we've developed in terms of the Pace brand with Pat Cummins. So already we're getting a phenomenal reception in independents, which is the RGAs, through the partnership that we've got with Monda Nissan Australia. So we're already in over, I think it's 500 to the latest store count that we've got with the Pace brand. They're also step changing and launching our Nextpa portfolio into the independents. It's fair to say it's probably been more challenging getting the distribution of Nextpa, given the footprint that our competitors have in that independent space. So they're really trying to hold that space. But some news that I'll share on the next slide should give us a greater positioning to kind of get further distribution for the Nextpa brand in independents, given our performance in the majors. The other awesome piece for the business is stepping into petrol and convenience as a channel. So 7-Eleven has, in the last, I think, 2 weeks, launched our Pace, and that other logo there is actually representing Ampol. So in 350 Ampol, so all the Ampol petrol stations, you'll see Pace in the fridges there as well. The other piece of where we think about future growth and I guess incrementality will come from is our further brands expansion. So both with the Good Brekkie, so we're maintaining the traction that we've already got within Coles. And then the other piece of, we just went through a review actually with Food Bank, which does the delivery into schools, which is an exciting initiative supporting, it's kind of government backed, and it supports kids that can't get access to breakfast, getting the quality Good Brekkie as that option. So we've locked in kind of the next 12 months again with Food Bank, which is a really nice position. And I won't talk to the international stuff because we've got a couple of slides, and I might actually hand over to our international CEO, David Warwick, who will be best placed to give those updates. But I'll do that now, actually. Dave, if you want to give a snap. Oh, actually, hold your horses. I'll stay in Australia for a second. So what I was just sharing before, in terms of step changes, I only recently took this photo actually in a Woolworths store, and to see the change of our portfolio and the brand blocking that we've got in store is very exciting. So this should be the majority of layouts across Woolworths nationally. And as you can see, if we think about our major competitor in terms of Remedy, we're starting to have even greater shelf space with our portfolio, because at the top shelf, we're now the only brand that's playing in nootropics. So the competitor, which was Naked, got removed, and based on our sales rates, and we just maintained the Nextwood brand nootropics. Lowbros, as we know, is the third brand in kombucha. And what is phenomenal news for our business is when you look at the Coles planogram. So this here is kind of a snapshot of what is occurring from the 14th of October. Lowbros has disappeared from that planogram. Two brands have disappeared from the planogram, Lowbros and then Vibe, which is actually owned by Asahi. So we've got really the lion's share of the better for you is between Nextbar and Remedy. So we've both got our better soda versus their Sodally, and then our kombucha portfolio. And you can also see the larger formats that are there as well. So you'll see the Coles layout change start to occur from the 14th of October in Australia. And as you can see, the Woolies has already kicked off. So it's an incredibly exciting time. Yep.
Why does that happen? Why do they cut these other people out?
Yeah, so question has come through in terms of why does that happen and why do certain brands get cut out? In the Australian market, what we enjoyed for a number of years was the carrier kombucha was growing in like high digit growth. Last few years, it's definitely flattened. So what can happen in categories is you get more than two brands in a category. Is typically when they settle and they get a bit more mature, you end up with just two lead brands in that category. So the good news is we are one of those two brands.
Right.
And I think what I'm very excited for is to see what happens, particularly when you look at our planogram, or both in Coles and Woolies, is that step change our performance versus our competition.
Just to add a little bit to that, Troy, to simplify, it's performance related. So Nextwood is performing really well in kombucha. Nextwood Better Soda is performing really well. Vibe, which is a functional soft drink brand from Schweppes, was performing really poorly, about just under a third of. And then Lowbros is performing about half of what our kombucha is performing. So it is purely based on return on shelf space and performance, where Nextbar is performing really well, and so is Remedy, and the other brands aren't. So we're rewarded from that, more shelf space, better shelf supply, etc., which is awesome for us. It has been a big bold move by us to transition our whole hero portfolio from glass to cans as well. One of the other step changes for us was in this environment, it's allowing us to have greater margin off our core portfolio through this format change. It also has allowed us to get greater
spacing through the negotiations with both Coles and Woolworths. And the other piece in this environment is to be more attractive. So we're getting better margin, but we're also reducing the shelf price for the consumer. So creating, I guess, greater acceptability for consumers in this economic climate.
Troy, just a comment from 3 external parties on those photos.
Yeah.
The only comment that came through was the packaging for Next Bar is significantly better than Remedies. And that's 3 independent parties providing that same comment.
But 4 contacts that I keep an eye on our product have said the same thing, that they're so impressive, and I think we're on the right track there.
Yeah, so thank you. I think the proof's going to come in the coming months as hopefully our performance step changes versus the big competitor. I think the other thing we've got going is we strategically are we look bigger, like we are a bigger size can on shelf. So it'll be interesting to see what they do given that context as well. Any other questions from those online? Otherwise, I'll keep rolling.
Yeah, Troy, can I ask one?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. It's Mark. Can you give an update on Good Brekkie into Woolies and then Pace into the major supermarkets?
Yep, perfect. So currently,
I can probably jump in.
Yeah, you go, Drew.
If you want, I can jump in on that. So, Mark, with Pace, so we obviously the rollout started in the independent supermarket. So we're in about 500 or just under 500 IGAs so far in a really quick time frame. Independents don't give, they're less sophisticated, so you don't really get scan data. But thankfully, with Richie's IGA, which is one of the major IGA banners, they do actually provide scan data. And we're scanning at about 7 units per store per week, which is really, really strong. We've obviously used that data in our conversations with ranging with customers. That's now, Pace has now gone into 7-Eleven as 3 weeks ago, Ampol nationally as of last week. So you'll start seeing that roll out. I was with Woolworths last week as well, talking about the timelines for the Pace expansion into Woolies, and not just Pace Hydration, but the whole Pace portfolio, including Pace Protein and Pace Energy if we go down that track as well. And that's looking really, really strong. Timelines for that are sort of February into Woolies. Coles will be a little bit later, probably May. So I think by sort of early next year, we're going to have a really, really strong footprint in independent supermarkets, in at least one of the majors, and then all the major petrol stations as well. The kind of and Dave might talk to this as well. One of the bigger opportunity, a big opportunity is also the reception we're getting from Indian consumers, basically begging for the product to be available in India. So we're at the very early stages of looking at feasibility, looking at understanding who we might have to talk to in terms of manufacturers and distributors over there, because what's really clear is that we can't produce Pace here and export it to India. The tariffs are prohibitive to do that. So we would have to be producing it locally, either Sri Lanka or India, and then distributing it throughout India with a major distributor as well. So that's probably the update on Pace. Good Brekkie is a little bit more challenging. We're finding that Troy mentioned before, Food Bank partnership is really strong. So that is it's going fantastic. I think we're available now to about 1,500 schools, and they're ordering a significant amount, which is great. Coles is performing well and better than what Nextbar Liquid Brekkie was performing, but we're certainly being squeezed by Up and Go. I mean, Up and Go absolutely own that market, so we're fighting a pretty hard fight in there. The Woolies conversations are really, really tough with margin expectations. I think we all are probably aware that Sanitarium is a religious organisation, therefore they don't pay GST on their products, and so they're sort of they get a huge head start against us, and that's always been a challenge for the major brands as well. Kellogg's gone up against Up and Go in that space and haven't been successful. So, it's a bit slower than what we would like, although, there's a lot of green shoots. Food Bank's going really well, and Coles continues to still perform. So, we're going to keep pushing that as hard as we can because obviously we all believe in that product in a big way.
I think the strategy, Mark, to get Good Brekkie into Coles is absolutely going to be a time and performance in Coles. We were offered to put Good Brekkie into Woolies when we did the exit of Next But Liquid Brekkie. Because of the history and the margin structure, it meant that it wouldn't have been a profitable path for us. So we refused to, play in that space in Woolies. So it's about performance to then allow us to have that margin conversation, and get into those guys. And I think what we'd like to be in a position is we should know by the end of October the outcomes of PACE, but the next steps is we've got Pat's commitment to roll him in to the range review kind of sign off outcome. So we're hoping we're going to get a nice partnership there, and how do we really leverage launching PACE into Woolies in a big way. And similarly, as Drew touched on, once you've got one of those players, we should be in a good position to get Coles. Dave, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, guys. Just a real quick snapshot update on where we're at and what we're planning internationally. I think people are broadly aware that over the last few years we've been establishing a pretty solid presence in the UK, and then leveraging that performance and some of the rate of sale data coming out of that to open up some of our nearby European markets. So in the UK, we're very firmly established across the major retail landscape. We have more players in the UK than you do in Australia. So Tesco are the biggest player, Sainsbury's are number 2. We're very, very firmly established in Sainsbury's, who's been our long-term partner. More recently went into Tesco's, but performing extremely well in there as part of their functional drinks bay that they've rolled out, which we have a full shelf of space in. We're also present in Morrison's, excuse me, and then some of the other retailers, Ocado, Booths, and we're doing very, 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 very well indeed on Amazon UK. We're rapidly building quite a strong volume base. Home delivery grocery is pretty successful here. The geography is a bit more friendly to that than it is in the rather larger Australian landscape. And Amazon, I'm expecting Amazon to do more volume than Tesco's, for example, in October. So we really are smashing it on that platform. So really solidly established here in the UK, leading with our 1 litre pack format. The rate of sale on those products, it remains in the top 5 SKUs in the category. We have 2 of those top 5 SKUs are next per 1 litre products, which is pretty positive. So that success in that market allows conversations elsewhere, and we rolled out over the last few years to the Northern Europe, sort of top left-hand corner of Europe markets, really. So Ireland, the Scandinavian markets, Norway, Sweden, Finland, down into Denmark, Netherlands, and across into Poland. And we've managed to establish pretty good retail distribution across all of those markets, with many of the other big name retailers across Europe now stocking our products at one level or another, whether that's retailers who play across multiple markets, such as Normal, who are a small store chain, Carrefour and Auchan, who operate across multiple markets, or retailers who are very, very strong in their individual markets, such as K Group in Finland, who are the biggest player in that space, or Duns in Ireland, for example. So we've established some very good retailer connections. We've got very good distribution partners in each of these markets, and we've started to be able to take some of that story into a wider set of markets. And one of our key priorities over the last 12 months has been to start to accelerate our footprint. We're now in a position where everything we sell in Europe, we make in Europe. So our 1 litre products are made down at our partners in Tarka Springs in southwest UK, very environmentally friendly, very positive relationship with those guys. So we're no longer shipping in our 1 litre product from Australia, and our cans are manufactured in our Polish partners, Krinca Vitamin. which makes it very convenient to sell onto the European continent. There are significant challenges that the great British public made for us in implementing Brexit. Getting stuff across border from UK into Europe and the other way around remains challenging, but we're now got a pretty good system for working through that. So we sell right now our majority of our European businesses cans made on the European continent, sold on the European continent, and 1 litre made on the UK, sold on the UK. But we are now starting to cross-sell those into the markets. So the big priority recently has been to expand into new markets as well as building into new retail partners in the existing markets. And since the start of this year, we had previously been in France, but our distribution partner had pulled away, and that hadn't really worked. We've now moved to a very, very strong distribution partner in France, and they are quickly starting to build some really good distribution for us, having gone live a couple of months ago. So we've relaunched in France with a very strong partner. We've also added a significant number of new markets. So we've gone into the Canary Islands, into Romania, into Cyprus, and then recently into Spain and Portugal, and most recently Malta. So we've gone from 8 markets at the start of this year into 15 markets by the end of September. Some of those are quite small. Cyprus and Malta are not going to change the world. But saying that, our Cypriot distributor took a full container of cans as their first delivery in June, and they're ready to place another order. So it's very good, profitable business for us, and we've got great distribution partners working very hard on our behalf. So we've gone from 8 to 15. We're very confident that that becomes 18 or target 20 by January. So we'll have doubled the number of distribution markets we're in 12 months if we achieve that 20. And I'll talk to what that list is now. And then we've got a pretty solid plan, and we know which markets we're working towards to get from 20 to 30 during the next calendar year by December 25. And again, we know which markets those are, and we're already in contact with people in most of those that will get us to that 30. So the next up that you'll see over the next few months will be Germany, Switzerland, South Africa, Greece, and Belgium. So they'll be the next 5 that we expect to come in. We are, as I said, talking to a much longer group than that, but they are all in very advanced situations. So Switzerland, we're launching through our French partner. Belgium and Greece, we are having conversations with businesses that I've personally known for many years and have done business with previously in my previous role. Germany, we're launching on Amazon as our launch strategy into Germany. Amazon Germany is a massively successful retail proposition, and the German consumers have really embraced that, and we're ready to go. There's a contract with a partner to sign that's in Troy's inbox right now. So we'll be on Amazon Germany within a month. And then from proving the brand on Amazon, we'll roll into wider distribution in Germany. And we're in very advanced conversation with a couple of distribution partners in South Africa. So we're expecting that to be locked and loaded over the next few months as well. So very confident we'll hit that 20 markets by the end of January. And then we have further conversations already in place with other markets in Southern Africa, markets in Central America through our Spanish partners and the contacts they have there, and also in gap filling the European space. So Italy isn't on the list as you'll see at the moment, but will be. That'll definitely be part of our 30. And there are a number of other countries that we're filling in, particularly in Eastern Europe, where we're making some good progress. For example, we're in direct conversations with the Tesco retail buyer in Czechia, the Czech Republic. And we're at the point now where the Tesco's buyer is recommending a distribution partner for us so that we can have a distribution partner who can sell to Tesco's in Czechia. So we're pretty close to bringing those guys on board as well. So we're available to 350 million consumers. We will have doubled the number of markets we're in within 12 months. And we're doing that all based on locally manufactured, sustainably produced products. And we're expecting to go from 20 to 30 during 2025. I think that if we can continue at this pace, no pun intended, on the Nexpa brand and demonstrate to potential global investors and partners and ultimately acquirers that Nexpa is becoming a global kombucha brand, I think that's an extremely attractive part of any medium to longer term dialogue about what the ultimate future of that brand should be, and adds a massive amount of value. So we're very focused on delivering all of that. So that's where we are on international rollout, Troy.
Yeah, I think I got a quick question from Mark.
Hi, David. So the question was around Italy, but I think you've more or less answered it. Obviously, a substantial market. My contacts in Italy have been shooting me photos of boutique kombucha brands, being available in a number of stores already. So it sounds like there's, a market there ready to be conquered.
Yeah, it's an interesting market, Italy. One of the challenges in Italy is that it's very regionalised. So there are a very limited number of national distribution partners. What we have done in every other market is find one party who we sell to, and then they sell to all of the retailers across all channels across the whole country. What I don't really want to do is to get into having an Italian distributor in Tuscany and another one in another region and another one in another region. That's completely that takes an enormous amount of time and effort, but it also defining the borders and boundaries of that become very challenging, and you don't really want two different people turning up to the same customer selling the same product. You want to have one partner who can do the whole job for you. So finding that partner who can do the whole of Italy well is worth taking the time over, and we're working on that. And you're right, in every market we come to, what we find is locally established small startup entrepreneurial kombucha brands who are starting to seed the category, and in a couple of markets there's one or two brands that are international who've started to have a little bit of a footprint and are building that out. The lead brand in Europe in terms of number of markets it's in is a brand called Captain Kombucha, but we're progressively replacing Captain Kombucha in a number of retail environments and indeed in some of their distributors. So our new French distributor, for example, dropped Captain Kombucha, having established a very solid business for it, and have replaced it with Nexpa. So we're now inheriting the previous good work they'd done to build those retailer relationships on that brand, and we're picking up that distribution because they've seen that in other markets we outperform Captain. So we're enhancing the category for those small entrepreneurial brands, and where there are people who are trying to establish the position as the big international kombucha brand, we're beating them and getting them out of the way and becoming that brand.
I think 12 months should see us actually become the lead kombucha brand within Europe. So Captain Kombucha, to contextualize that data point, Jumbo in Netherlands was the first time we were side by side, 2 cans versus 2 cans. And our rates of sale were twice that of Captain Kombucha, which is obviously what led to that change.
We're already Troy, we're already more widely distributed than them. And I think I'm absolutely certain we are the most widely distributed brand in Europe. What we're not doing right now is spending a lot of money buying data to European level to have actual sales numbers on that. There's not a lot of sources of that, and they're very, very expensive. So we will do at the right moment, but right now we're not investing in that data. But there are no other brands that are in the same level of distribution that we are across Europe, and that's going to get more true over time.
Question from Malcolm. David,
David, good morning. Just a couple of things on transit times. So your major users in new customers, particularly in Europe, what sort of transit time from the order that can they get it from your supplier in Poland, and similarly from the southern part of England into the Tesco's and into their stores? What are you looking at in actual transit time? Is it days, weeks? Just to give a rough idea, please.
Sure. Yeah. So the model is that the distributors collect from our Polish factory for our can business, and if the European partners want the 1 litre PET, which increasingly we're aiming to make happen, they buy it Ex Works from our UK distributor. So they are managing that physical transition of products. We are day 1 for day 3 orders. And the physical transit time obviously depends on where you are, but to drive a truck from Poland to Spain is 36 hours, 48 hours. So they can get their hands on our products pretty quickly. We're ensuring that we stay in stock. We're not quite just in time in terms of our production efficiencies, but we're certainly trying to minimise our stock holding without going out of stock in order to professionally manage our cash as best we can. But we're certainly managing to make sure the stock's available at all times for our partners. We have an absolute commitment to all of them that if they place an order, the stock will be available for them to collect within 3 weeks. But typically, if they place an order, the stock's available for them to collect straight away. And if they want it, they can place an order on a Monday, collect it on a Wednesday, and it can pretty much be anywhere in Europe on the Friday from where it's collected. And then their own internal supply chains will dictate how quickly that physical stock ends up on the retailers' shelves. But typically, our partners hold 4 weeks stock, our retailers hold 2 weeks stock, and it all flows through pretty efficiently. We're producing once every 3 months in Poland. The minimum production quantities are very significant, but we are producing about once every 3 months. So we'll be producing on the 1st of November. They'll be making 250,000 cans each of our mango and mixed berry kombucha, and they'll be making 125,000 cans of our water kefir cans. So 625,000 cans being produced on the 1st of November in one day, and then we'll clear all of that stock during November, December, and early January, and we'll be producing again in the first couple of weeks of January for our January orders. So we're kind of producing at volume, very efficient, very low cost, and that's very high quality, and that stock's then flowing through to the markets and getting sold to consumers pretty promptly. At our factory in Devon, we're producing much more frequently. We have much lower minimum production runs, so we can do 20,000 bottles per production run. So we're typically doing 20 or 40,000 bottles per flavour and producing anywhere between, well, we're producing most weeks, but different flavours in different weeks. So we've got a pretty tight turnover time of that stock through into the retail market. We just recently ran our first on-pack promotion. So that flexibility at that factory in Devon allows us to do some nice things in marketing. So we recently ran our first consumer promotion on pack in all of our UK grocery business up through that 1 litre pack format, where because we're pretty tight on how we make that stock and turn it over and get it into the retailers and on shelf, we were able to coordinate having the same promotional packs on shelf across all our retailers at the same time through August into September, with a consumer offer linking to some health and wellness partners in the UK, and that drove some really nice consumer engagement and really enhances what the brand messaging as well as driving sales for us. So yeah, the operational efficiency and delivery to customer is very locked and loaded, and really from here it's about driving more volume in each market, more channels in each market, more markets, and then very selectively rolling out new products to offer more opportunities in the markets and to fill some gaps in our distributors' portfolio. So you won't see us in our international division explode into the full range of brands that Goodness Group Global have got in play as quickly as we are in the Australian market. We're very focused on building Nextbar as the global kombucha brand, but we will take opportunities to expand that through new products and new formats. So we have a ginger and lemon flavour being launched in cans and 1 litre later this year, and first production in cans in January actually on the ginger and lemon, and we will very selectively use some of the Goodness Group portfolio and launch into individual markets where there's some really significant opportunities. And as Drew says, we will also sort of take the opportunity to look at where there are some big strategic opportunities like pace in India. There's a meeting in the diary on Monday morning, myself, my marketing guy, Drew, Troy, and our international sales lead to talk specifically about India. We've done a ton of desk research on that and understood the category landscape, competitors, pricing, who are the retailers, who are the partners, and we want to get that right because India is a very hard market for foreign businesses to wade into. It's a little bit Wild West in places, and it needs doing right, but it represents an absolutely colossal opportunity if we can do that. So proving that brand's working really well in Australia, going to the better distribution partners in India and trying to lock in the right deal where they can make it and sell it for us is the right strategy. If we can do that, there's an alternative strategy of potentially launching through the online retail platforms in India as a soft start, but that would still require a local manufacturing partner and distributor, although albeit at a smaller scale. And we're exploring both of those twin tracks simultaneously, and we will look to do pace in India next year at some stage, but that is one that definitely wants taking some time over and getting exactly right, because there's a lot of businesses have been casualties by doing things wrong in India at scale, and we want to do that right. And we know that the size of the prize is there with Pat and his relationship with the Indian consumers. So yeah, so look, I think we're doing stuff in the right way. I hope.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. I think there was a question.
Just to add to David, that transit time, if we looked at 18 months ago, it was 6 to 7 weeks by ship to London or to the UK or to Europe. Now it's 11 weeks, and the a 40-foot container's gone from about $4,000 US to 11 grand. So what you've done is not only outstanding, it's just amazing to use the supply chain, as you've just explained, as a marketing tool to be able to provide volume to your stores and say, we've got this special on for you, and you can lower prices because you've got access to savings that you've created. Thank you. Well done.
Cool. And I think a question from Mark.
David, in terms of market expansion, obviously you need to have production capacity or anticipate production capacity. You've got quite a number of markets that you're reaching out to. In terms of risk mitigation, whilst Poland's stable at the moment, it can take turns, and I guess then you're also dealing with the European market in terms of England, in terms of where that economy from a macro perspective is at. So as we're expanding, I guess we will need to start thinking about, what are our risk mitigation aspects in terms of alternative production facilities, particularly as we scale and the volumes start to reach new peaks. Is that something you're thinking through at the moment, or are we talking to any other production partners in Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. So when before we settled on Krynica Vitamin and Tarka as our two partners for cans and bottles respectively, we spoke to not quite 100, but certainly north of 80 manufacturing partners across UK and Europe. And those with a bit of a memory will remember that comes on the back of us having some pretty torrid situations with the people we were working with previously. Our can manufacturing partner went bust, which caused us to be out of stock for 5 months, and we had a pretty difficult relationship with Refresco in Europe, who were making our non-kombucha 1 litre products for us previously. So we've got connections into a very, very wide network of partners. Many of them at the time either didn't want to make kombucha or couldn't make kombucha. The category is very much in its infancy in Europe in particular, a bit less so in the UK now. More manufacturing partners are taking on concept of putting kombucha into their portfolios, and we remain in contact with a lot of those parties. We're in very advanced conversations with a couple of those. So, for example, Holden's in the UK are a very long established business that started life as a brewer and have kind of evolved into a wider drinks manufacturing platform. They're ready to go if we ever need glass bottles, which we may do for some particular customer opportunities. They're installing new canning capacity, and that's coming on stream in the early part of next year. We've already had pricing proposals from them. They're not as cheap as the Polish, but their minimum production quantities are smaller. So we will have an absolute backstop in Holden's that'll be on stream from the early part of next year. We will certainly use that where we're introducing new innovations in cans. So we'll produce them at smaller quantities, slightly higher prices, and then as the volume builds, we'll roll it into the bigger volume partner in Poland. And we will continue to have the relationships with some of the other potential bigger parties. There's a business in Belgium and a couple of others that could potentially take on our kombucha volumes. Now that we're more established and the volume is bigger, we're a bit more interesting to some of these parties than we were when we had the conversation, because back then we were UK in a couple of markets and we were really just getting going on the cans. So we're a more attractive proposition for some of those discussions than we used to be. So we will absolutely be putting a canning contingency partner in place. I don't think realistically, and who can predict, but I think if Poland becomes unviable as a manufacturing base because of geopolitical problems, then I think, frankly, we all have bigger fish to fry than than where we're getting our cans from, because that'll be NATO at war with Russia. So, I think it's possible that something could happen to make Poland a non-viable manufacturing entity. If Mr. Putin decided to move his tanks through Ukraine and out the other side into Poland, I think we'll get a reasonable amount of notice of that. And I think it's pretty unlikely. So we're absolutely conscious that we need to have other parties in place and we need to have contingencies on the 1 litre. So just in terms of, can our existing partners do enough volume for us? We are about 0.3% of Krnitsa Vitamin's total volume. So we are their smallest manufacturing, we're their smallest partner. We have a very good relationship with them at board level through my international guy. I'm personally going to Poland 2 weeks' time to meet their top team, their CEO and his commercial director, and lock that relationship in. So there's massive upside ability there. They're not going to drop us because of that relationship that we've got through my guy and through the relationship we're building. So I'm pretty confident Krnitsa's locked and loaded with tons of headroom. And Tarka Springs, we invested in the building of that factory down there with an 8-year forward growth plan against it. So there's massive upside capacity in Tarka, and they're not going anywhere. They're absolutely locked and loaded with us. As Troy was talking to one of their major shareholders who's traveling Australia this last week, and having some good banter with them. So I don't think there's any major issues with those guys. They're in a good place. They've got some good people behind them financially. And they've got massive capacity if we need to expand into it. So don't think that. I think the priority is a canning contingency partner, which we're all over.
Right, thank you.
I'll keep us flying. I think you've actually touched on these, Dave, already. But
yeah, that's just showing rate of sale. That this is grocery. It's volume rate of sale data. We're they're showing 3 of the top 5. Depends which month's data you grab, whether we're 2 or 3 out of the top 5. But yeah, we're doing very well on rate of sale, and I think particularly in Tesco's as the benchmark, that re-merchandise they did into a full functional bay with a full shelf for us. So our rate of sale jumped 40% with them. That's only in 179 of their stores. They've got a couple of thousand grocery stores, and we're in conversation with them about how fast are they going to roll this functional bay out. And when they do, we'd be very confident that we'd be part of that. So there's very, very significant headroom in Tesco's. And this sort of rate of sale data sets you up for good conversations with everybody else. So yeah, all good.
That's any other questions on international? I'm conscious we've gone well over allocated time, but I'll fly through some pace. No, it's perfect. I think the last thing I'll share on international, ahead of you guys, I guess, getting the numbers, is the most exciting. I think the pain of the business, as we all know, is our balance sheet. I think and for very deliberate investment reasons on building our international business and the strategy that we've had. I think the proof in our June actuals is that we've flipped the business from investment mode into the first positive operational EBITDA for the international business. So our June actuals is a very exciting sign, which our current forecast for the international business, we had a budget that would be negative, and not putting you on the the killer team, Dave, but our current forecast has that business division being positive in FY25 as well. So it's a very exciting position for us to be in as an Australian branded house business, I guess, winning in a region.
Yeah.
And then I guess on the pace piece, I think we've spoken about this already, but we'll circulate to you guys. If you haven't seen, there has been a big push on PR. I wasn't meant to be there, but I managed to shove myself on the couch as well. But in terms of, Pat's fully engaged. In his words, he's ready and wanting to flog pace as hard as he can. He actually texted me today. He got Pace into his current gym that he goes to, and the owner just updated him that the stock, a case of each, sold out in 3 days. So yeah, I guess exciting times for how that's flowing through. Yeah, so good PR, good focus. We've spoken about the new ranging that we've already got for Pace. And then I think the headline is, as we all know, in terms of the communications that we've been pushing out there for the retail raise aspect, and the reason for needing to do that, the constitution update to support those retail investors as well, is getting some pretty significant coverage. And I think both Drew and myself and Dave are getting a lot of higher level conversations with the right contacts within retailers about our performance. I shared the news about Woolworths before, but we actually had like the boss of Total Grocery congratulate the business on what we're working with, which is just an exciting position for us to be in. And I just got told by the team we've moved into being a gold supplier for Woolworths, I think, in the last week. So that's pretty awesome position for us to be in this next phase in the next 12 months. So I think the last thing I'll share, which we'll continue to keep you guys updated with, is clearly the biggest priority to achieve everything that we've just gone through is restructuring our balance sheet. And the ultimate goal for all of us as shareholders is to be in a position to maximise an outcome for shareholders in an exit process over time. So there's probably two news to share. One is we have engaged a mandate, thanks to an instruction from Marek, actually, with Parrott Evans to support on a $15 million debt restructure. And we're working as hard as we can to achieve that as fast as we can. But I guess worst case, if we don't move very fast on it, if you don't close something before end of November, it's likely to be kind of end of March. We want to do end of November as that kind of target restructure. So we've already got 5 parties under NDA for that debt restructure process. I don't know if you've got any comments on Parrott Evans, or it's all.
The only comment is that they're obviously well-heeled, an experienced company. I think what they're working towards is a significant incremental outcome for the group. And yeah, looking forward to seeing that come through. But high priority, it'll make a significant difference to the balance sheet. And
then the other big kind of exciting news is we've entered a success fee only mandate with Ernst & Young for what we've termed Project Pinnacle, which is ultimately to achieve a majority sale of the company at the right time. So clearly, securing our balance sheet through a debt restructure gives us the platform to achieve our ambitions of growth over the coming years. So it's really just that we do have them in place to do a market sounding, most likely early 2025, to get an appetite of what could interest be, based on the fact that we have had approaches, as we know, from parties like Asahi, Remedy, Soulfresh. There's bigger local players, and obviously they're looking at it from an international perspective as well. I think our focus as founders and management is achieve what we've put on in place, which is moving the business to positive EBITDA growth, and make the right business choices to give us the right plays of scale. I think on the international, some of those risk mitigation on the international business is being very select with not a mass proliferation of products and SKUs. It's been very selective with our Hero and Nextbar, which gives us the ability to move volume to bigger partners and better COGS over time. But our margin structure for international is already better than Australia. And we also know that one of the other projects that we want to potentially bring to life in the Australian market for the Australian division is absolutely a step change in manufacturing at the right time. So fingers crossed there'll be movements in that space as well. Sorry, I feel like I went rapid fire there, to probably summarize. Any questions from anybody?
Just a general comment from me. I think it's, under difficult circumstances, and I think with the support of key partners, what you guys have been able to achieve holistically is phenomenal, against all odds. I think it's fair to say. From a shareholder's perspective and a key input perspective, please pass on some congratulations to the whole team, who I know the majority have stuck with you along the journey. And I think, we're starting to see some wonderful light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it's a credit to those who have been along the journey for years and years. So congratulations on where you're heading. There's still a long way to go. And you certainly have my support as a shareholder.
And certainly mine.
And mine. Yeah, I concur with Marek. I mean, it's been extraordinary what you guys have achieved in some very difficult circumstances beyond control.
Absolutely.
So yeah, congratulations.
Amazing. But one of the things that I've always said is that they've listened to good people like yourselves, that when he's talked, Troy and Drew the same, they've listened, and they're very intelligent guys, but the comments and advice that's come through, they listen and use where they see it right. And we're very proud of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think we feel we're all in this together, and we appreciate that, and that's what keeps us driving through this environment, and cannot wait to be celebrating the total group with positive EBITDA and the growth that we're anticipating as well, and getting the outcome that we all want in the years ahead. So thank you. Any questions online? Otherwise, thank you guys, and